Hey, house guests. Welcome to today's Big Brother 23 updates and spoilers. Hope you're all having a great, wonderful, amazing Sunday so far. Thank you for being here. Our house guests of the day are Erica Eklund and Jenny S. Thank you both so much for the support. Could not do this without you, and we appreciate it so much. So thank you again. And if you guys want to be house guests of the day, the season's not over yet. So check out our Patreon link in the info box below. It's only $1 for a holla. And I also want to thank yesterday's super chatters because that is a fantastic way to support this channel and keep us doing our live streams and our episode recaps. So Gail Murphy Comedy and Janine Honberger, thank you so much. We really do appreciate it. All right, let's get started because this house is going nuts right now. Just a little sip and then we'll get started. Okay, I hope I don't kick that and knock it over, but I'm going to leave the cap off for now. Okay, so when we left off yesterday, Tiffany nominated Xavier and Alyssa as planned. And of course, Alyssa is the target, and Xavier will not stop complaining about it. Oh, so it was supposed to be the seventh person, blah, blah, blah. She was supposed to be the last one left outside the cookout. I'm so sick of it. I can't take Xavier right now. So Xavier really wants Claire to go this week, and he keeps ranting about how selfish Tiffany is for winning HOH this week. And he even went as far as saying if he wins the power of veto, he is considering using it on Alyssa instead of on himself. Yes, himself, who is also nominated. Oh my God, can you imagine? But anyway, they had the POV player draw, and the players are Tiffany, Xavier, Alyssa, and then the three extras, Big D, Azah, and Hannah. So before the competition, Alyssa was crying and talking about how weak she feels from the slop. She feels defeated, and she doesn't know how she's going to pull it together to compete. Mm-hmm. Excuse me. So then the feeds went down for Zingbot and the Power Veto competition. I'm not sure what everybody's zings were yet. I've been hearing little bits here and there about what some of the themes were, but I hate trying to piece that crap together. So let's just see what happens with that. But it was the miniature competition that Davon won last season, where you have to use tweezers to stack tiny things. And Power Veto was also miniature sized. I love that. That's very cute. But guess who won? Alyssa. Okay, dang. So now Tiffany will have to decide if she's going to put up her own +1, Claire, or another member of the cookout. So there are lots of different ideas floating around about how to handle this situation. Kylan was talking to Tiffany in the kitchen, and Kylan says, we all know that the plan is to avoid Claire going up on the block, if possible. We don't want you to have to do that. It's crazy. Some people did want her to have to do that. But he suggests trying to get Alyssa to use the power veto on Xavier instead of on herself. Oh my God. That is not a two-way street. Just because Xavier is obsessed with Alyssa and would probably use the veto on her instead of himself, or can be convinced to do that, Alyssa's not going to do that. She's not going to use the veto on Xavier instead of herself. No freaking way. So Alyssa's chatting with Xavier about her plan for the power veto because she's under the impression that Xavier is definitely the target this week, because Tiffany was saying that she wanted to split up Xavier and Alyssa this week. So now that Alyssa's coming down, it would make sense to her that Xavier is the target, right? So she wants to make sure that someone will go up next to him who will leave instead of him. So Alyssa says the only options to go up as the replacement are Azah, Big D, and Kylan, because she's assuming, as most people would, that Claire is off the table this week, right? Because she still doesn't realize that the cookout is working together. Oh my God. So she says, Big D and Azah do not want to see the block this week. So she wants to convince them to go and talk to Tiffany and beg her not to put them up on the block. They can tell Tiffany that they will vote Xavier out because that's what she thinks Tiffany wants. And then Tiffany will put up Kylan because she'll think that she has the votes to keep him, and she won't have to get more blood on her hands by putting up Big D or Azah. Alyssa says, then we can just vote out Kylan. You know, you only need 3 votes this week to do something. So Xavier's playing along. He's like, yeah, I love the plan. It sounds great. He knows that this is not like a thing. So he doesn't want to tell Alyssa, like, just stop it with that plan. We're not doing that. So he's got to entertain it. So he does end up changing the conversation pretty quickly and talks about what a comp beast Alyssa is because she won OTEV and Zingbot this season. All right. Meanwhile, isn't that crazy too that Alyssa's like freaking out about how weak she is and all this, and then the POV competition is just like using tweezers to stack something? I'm not saying it's fixed, but it's just wild timing. So meanwhile, Tiffany and Hannah are chatting up in the HOH room, and they're trying to figure out how to get Alyssa to use the power veto on Xavier. You're wasting your time. It's not gonna happen. Honestly, Tiffany should be more focused on getting Xavier out this week. Forget about the cookout. Xavier and Big D have been talking so much trash about Tiffany behind her back, talking about potentially even taking her out before they get to the final 6. It just kills me to see Tiffany sacrifice Claire this week when Xavier and Big D could just turn around and take her out the following week. Or actually, it's during double eviction, so who knows? But it's really sad. So Tiffany says if that plan doesn't work to get Xavier or to get Alyssa to use the veto on Xavier instead of herself, then I'm just going to have to tell Claire that I made deals with everyone that I wouldn't put them up. And I tried to send Alyssa out this week, and now Claire is the only person left that I can put up on the block. This is messy. This is very messy. So Hannah says that's going to have to be our default if we can't pull off this other plan. So Tiffany feels like there's still a lot of spite involved with her winning HOH this week. Girl, you don't even know. And she says, no one wants me to have what I want at this point. So even if this plan to get Alyssa to use the POV on Xavier is feasible and makes sense, people are still going to want Claire to go because they don't want me to have it my way. This is not Burger King. So she says Xavier's not going to want to give up Alyssa this week. That's pretty obvious. So she says if Claire has to go, then Claire has to go. You know, I made my own bet at this point. Just tell Claire about the cookout. Even if you are going to stick with the cookout and get rid of Claire, tell her the truth. She will most likely be way less hurt if you were just honest with her and tell her the truth. She's going to find out eventually anyway. So all this extra crap is just, it's very messy. So then Kai and Xavier check in the bathroom. And Kylan says, as of right now, Tiffany wants to see if she can get Alyssa to use the power veto on you. And Xavier says, that shit's not going to happen. That's bullshit. No. And Kylan's like, I'm just giving you a heads up. You know, don't tell Tiffany that I told you. Okay. So then Claire goes up to the HOH with Hannah and Tiffany. And Claire reports back that there is a weird atmosphere downstairs. Oh, Claire, I feel so bad for her. So they're talking about trying to pull in Azah closer this week, trying to figure out how people will vote this week between like Big D and Xavier. Claire has no idea that she's going to be going up on the block. So Tiffany, just tell her the truth. But they agree. They still have time to run through scenarios before the power veto ceremony and figure out who should go up next to Xavier. This is so hard to watch at this point. Oh, my God. So then Xavier and Big D are chatting in the yacht club bedroom. They are getting what they want this week. Alyssa is staying. Claire is going. By Tiffany's hand. They're getting what they want, and they're still finding things to complain about. You just can't please these guys. So Xavier says Tiffany's going to try and get Alyssa to use the power veto on him because she's trying to avoid putting Claire up on the block, and he says, it's bullshit. Okay. Big D is freaked out because he says Tiffany has the opportunity to send either one of them out this week if she wanted to. And he says if she doesn't put Claire up on the block, I'm going to flip this whole effing house upside down and I'm going to pop the F off. How many times have we heard him say that now this season? But Xavier says if she puts up somebody else in the cookout, she better make sure that I'm not here anymore because I'm going to be coming after her. They have a lot to say behind her back, but when they're actually talking to her face to face, doesn't sound like that. So eventually Hannah joins them, and Xavier's like, "Do you think she's gonna put up Claire?" And Hannah says, "Yes, I think she will." So they're talking about Tiffany's plan to try and get Alyssa to use the POV on Xavier, and Xavier says Alyssa is not dumb enough to do that. Forget what Zingbot said. She's not that dumb. Oh, so I guess Alyssa's zing was about being dumb. So then Xavier asks, "How's Tiffany doing?" And Hannah says, "Tiffany's fine. At this point in the game, she's pretty good at separating her emotions from what she needs to do in the game." And Hannah says, "Tiffany knew when she won HOH, she was accepting all of the risks and responsibilities that come with winning HOH." And she says, "Claire has to go up. Tiffany knows that." So then Xavier is saying that he does not want Tiffany to expose the cookout to Claire. So they feel pretty good that Tiffany will follow through and put Claire up on the block. But now Xavier has an issue with how Tiffany will tell Claire about it. He's trying to control every little bit. So he wants Tiffany to tell Claire that she made a deal with Big D and Azza, so she can't put either of them up, and that she needs someone to go up next to Xavier who will ensure that Xavier goes this week. Now, obviously, we know that Xavier is not Tiffany's target, even though he should be. But he wants to play it off like that to Claire so that she doesn't realize that she's going. I guess they plan on telling her on like Thursday morning. So Tiffany and Big D are talking in the kitchen. I thought that said Bud. It says loud. This was a loud conversation. These two tend to have really loud conversations, and I'm just like, aren't you worried people are going to hear you? So Tiffany says, "I know y'all are happy now that Alyssa won Power Veto." And Big D is like, "Oh, I feel bad. What are you talking about? Like, who's y'all? Who's this y'all you're referring to?" And Tiffany says, "It's the same mother effers who were talking shit when I won HOH." Yup. So Big D says, "No one was talking shit." Oh my God. Come on. So Tiffany says, "I already know that you were considering using the power veto on Alyssa just so that I'd have to put up Claire." She clocked him. He was considering that, but Big D is denying it. And he's like, "Who told you this thing?" So Big D says, "I would not have used the power veto if I had won." And Tiffany says, "We don't have to talk about the hypotheticals. It's done." She very clearly does not want to be having this conversation right now. But Big D, again, is saying, "I feel bad. No one's had to get rid of their own person. So I'm here if you want to talk." It just seems so like fake. And Tiffany says, "It is what it is at this point." So Big D asks, "What would you want to do this week? Like, what would the alternative solution be instead of getting rid of Claire?" And Tiffany says, "Well, ideally, she would want Alyssa to use the power veto on Xavier, but she doesn't see anyone going for that. She doesn't think Xavier is going to be into that plan, even if they could convince Alyssa." So Big D is telling Tiffany, "You should talk to X about it." What the hell? We just heard Big D complaining about how he doesn't want that to happen. I feel like he's trying to set Tiffany up here because he knows that Xavier is just going to get more pissed off if Tiffany talks to him about this. So Tiffany's saying, "No, like, this is what everyone wants for Claire to go. Like, I'm just going to give everyone what they want." So after, Big D goes and complains to Xavier that Tiffany is being a sore loser because she called him out for being happy about the situation, which I just can't get over Big D calling someone else a sore loser when he's all upset after like every single competition because he's saying like, "It wasn't fair. It wasn't built for me. It's not fair." Ridiculous. So then Xavier says, "I can't believe she's saying this stuff when I'm sitting here trying to figure out a way to save her ass." I gotta say, Xavier is trying to frame this like he is looking out for Tiffany's game and making sure she'll still have Claire's jury vote and all that. No, this is not for Tiffany's game. He does not want the cookout to be exposed for his own game because Alyssa's still going to be here and he doesn't want to have to deal with Alyssa knowing about the cookout already. So this is all for him. Don't get it twisted. But Tiffany came in and apologized to Big D a little bit later, and Big D's like, oh, well, I didn't take it personally. Yeah, he did. Okay, so then Xavier chats with Tiffany in the HOH room. And again, he's like, oh, I'm trying to figure out a plan to save you, to help you, blah, blah, blah. So he's telling her about the plan that he was discussing earlier with Hannah. You know, say to Claire that you had to deal with Big D and Azza. You can't put them up, and you want to put up somebody who will be safe next to me. So Tiffany's like, oh, is that what the plan was? Like, I thought you had more than that. She's basically saying, like, I was already thinking the same thing. She was hoping he would have more of a good idea. I don't know. So Tiffany says she's not really feeling the part about saying that she had a deal with Big D and Azza, because she says Claire's under the impression that I already had this like unspoken deal with her for a while now. So it wouldn't make sense for me to say that I made a deal with Big D and Azza and that's going to like take precedence. So yeah, Xavier says, well, you can like sweeten this deal up by saying that you made it with Azza and Big D to protect you, Claire, and Hannah if there is a double eviction this week. So Tiffany is then asking, well, what's happening next week? And Xavier says, Alyssa's going to have to go. I don't trust Xavier at this point. But he says, I'm probably going to be going up a fourth time next to her. So Tiffany says, well, I don't want to touch the block next week because I have to send out my own person this week. I feel like I shouldn't have to be a part of getting rid of your person. So she says, yes, I brought this on myself by winning HOH this week, but this is something that no one else has had to do. So I don't want to be going up on the block, even as a replacement nominee. I don't see everyone in the cookout respecting her wishes. But Xavier says, yeah, I'll go up next to Alyssa, but if anyone doesn't want to put me up for a fourth time, they can put up Kylan instead. I can't with the 4 nomination. Like, no. Okay, so a little later, Hannah and Tiffany are strategizing, and Hannah is planning on talking to Alyssa. She wants to make Alyssa think that she came up with the idea herself to use Claire as a pawn this week. Because if you think about it, Alyssa should be pretty weirded out when Tiffany puts Claire up on the block. Like, that should be super, super obvious what's going on here. But anyway, according to Zingbot, Alyssa's dumb. So, no, they want to come up with a cover story so it doesn't seem weird to Alyssa. So, Hannah is going to tell Alyssa that if they can get Claire up on the block, she will flip her vote to keep Xavier and blame it on Azza so that she can stay good with Tiffany. These plans are so complicated and so unnecessary, but Hannah also suggests that she and Tiffany make a Final Four deal with Alyssa and Xavier. She says, obviously, it would be fake to everyone except for Alyssa. Alyssa's not going that far, but hopefully it will protect us if Alyssa wins HOH next week. Yeah, so Tiffany says, that sounds good, whatever. And then Tiffany starts saying, I don't want to go up on the block next week. And she says, if anyone does put me up against Alyssa or whatever, they're my new target. Okay, so they also reaffirm their final 2 deal. Moving on. After this conversation, Tiffany talks to the cameras and she says, I'm not feeling it today. This is not easy. This is not what I wanted to do. This is the most unattractive, uncool, unsophisticated, best friend-like thing in the world that she's going to be putting Claire up on the block. But she says, I don't regret winning HOH because Claire was going to go anyway. You know, if I didn't win, she was definitely going to go. She says, this is the only way that Claire could have possibly stayed this week was me winning HOH so I could try and protect her. She says, I tried my best to save Claire for as long as I could, and now I have to put her on the block. I gotta lay in the bed that I made, you know? That's so sad. So Hannah last night had her conversation with Alyssa out on the hammock, and Hannah says, Alyssa, you and Xavier are my best chance of making it to the final 3. And Alyssa's like, not Tiffany and Claire? What? And Hannah's like, no, Tiffany is probably going to be a target after this week. And Claire and I, are going to be fighting for the same jury votes, so it wouldn't make sense for us to go to the final 2 together. So Hannah says, me, you, and Xavier, if we're working together, we're going to be able to win a lot of different types of competitions because we all have different strengths and everything would be covered. So she says, for that reason, Xavier needs to stay this week. And Alyssa's like, yes. And she starts telling Hannah about the plan that she's been working on to try and get Kylan nominated next to Xavier. So Hannah starts going through different scenarios for replacement nominees. And eventually Hannah gets to Claire. And Alyssa's like, oh, well, Tiffany's not going to put Claire up on the block. Unless she thinks she has the votes locked in to take out Xavier and that Hannah will be safe. And Hannah says, yeah. And if Claire goes up on the block, I can vote her out and I'll blame it on Azah or Big D. So Alyssa is obviously into this. At first, she's like, would Tiffany be stupid enough to do that and put Claire up on the block? You are missing everything. So Alyssa's saying, yeah, I want to see if we can get Tiffany to arrive at this idea on her own. Make it seem like she came up with the idea to put Claire up herself. So it's just like what Hannah's doing to Alyssa right now. So they also ended up solidifying a final 2 deal, the sloppy seconds. And again, this is bullcrap on Hannah's part. But this is also just so messy. Just tell Claire and Alyssa about the cookout. Oh my God. So the rest of the night was pretty much just like the cookout, trying to plan out how to continue to keep the cookout under wraps with Alyssa and Claire. That's whatever. But then, oh my God, I have a WTF moment for you guys right now. Kylan slept in the HOH room with Tiffany, which is like, whatever. Like, that would be one thing. But there was like some extracurricular activity going on in that HOH bed. One of Kylan's hands was not accounted for. What the hell is happening here? There's just like an enemies to lovers situation. I am shooketh right now about this, but anyway, yeah, the power veto ceremony should be happening tomorrow, unless they move it up because of the holiday. I'm not sure though. I thought I saw Hamster Watch said last season they did have it on the Monday anyway. So yeah, today should be really interesting. I don't know when Tiffany is planning on telling Claire that she's going to be going up on the block. Come on in, big boy.
I always go behind the door.
Oh,
open the door.
Baby boy.
He says, don't look at me.
Oh. It's going to be interesting to watch that conversation between Tiffany and Claire, but also like heartbreaking. I don't want to watch it. Yes, the Tiffany and Kylan thing.
To see it.
No, the Tiffany and Kylan thing 100% happened. What the actual F? That's so out of left field. I just can't.
No. I'm getting BB Can flashbacks.
All right. But also, Xavier is up to his usual BS. Just talking crap about Tiffany.
He's a lawyer.
Yeah.
One step above a poker player.
Ooh. We'll see what happens here. We're going to pick it up there tomorrow. So I want to thank you all so much for being here. And I want to thank today's super chatters because you guys are amazing. Okay, so Vajra, thank you so much.
Oh, I never plugged the microphone in.
Oh, that's fun. Can you guys hear me okay today? We're just using the laptop microphone.
I think it's all right.
Vajrath asks, or no, Vajrath says, I would love to see a supercut of the best Bowie and Lulu for all their cute little cameos. Oh my God, that'd be so cute. Just every time they walk in the door.
Oh,
I would love that. Nicole's needlework. Thank you so much for the super chat. I'd love to see your needlework. Vajrath, he said, thank you again. He says, I keep picturing that awkward Mark Wahlberg clip from The Happening when Tiffany calls out Big D. What? No, I don't know. Maybe I'd know that meme if I saw it, but I can't place it.
It's a what? No.
Oh my God. The GIF that I keep thinking of is, or maybe it's not a GIF, maybe it's just a photo, but for the Tiffany Kylan situation, I keep thinking of whatever that meme is with the lady, and it looks like she's on like some court show, and she's just like, So good. Do you guys know which one I'm talking about?
It's you doing that, not Tiffany.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Like just everyone watching it. I also saw people on
How
Twitter.
did that happen?
What do you mean?
How did that happen?
I don't know. I also saw on Twitter people posting memes of Candace from Real Housewives of Potomac looking at her phone like and that worked really well too. But anyway, I also want to thank Dean Thomas. Thank you so much for the super chat. We really appreciate it. All right. So I can't get over the Tiffany and Kylan thing. I like freaked out when I saw that and heard about that. It was just too much.
I think of when you were a little kid and you were like, are they fighting or the animals at the zoo?
Oh my God. All right. Well, anyway, we will be back tonight for the episode recap. Oh, John S., thank you so much for the super chat. Let me just get you on here so we can thank you tomorrow as well. All right. Oh, Alex Garza, thank you so much. You guys, so sweet.
Wow.
We appreciate it so much. All right. We're going to go now.
We must feast.
We must go. Yes. Thank you all so much for being here. We'll see you later. And until next time, much love. Bye.